Layers of Fear 2023 is a reimagining of the original 2016 release and its sequel. Featuring expanded storyline in the first game's DLC, it is the first full Unreal Engine 5 game that I have played. It looks fantastic and plays a hell of a lot like the originals. There was some serious jank in my pre-release build alongside some genuinely creepy scares. Has it earned its existence? Well, let's dig in through this deep but spoiler-free, of course, review for Layers of Fear 2023. As previously stated, Layers of Fear contains the first game, its 2 DLCs, and the sequel. In the first title, you play as the Painter, a distraught drunk who has thrown his life and family to the side in his pursuit of perfecting his craft. You spend your time walking through your house as your mind deteriorates. The main source of scares are psychological, though plenty of jump scares are used with decent effect. The Painter's story took me roughly 4 hours to complete with each of its DLCs, the first being about his daughter and the second being about his wife, taking about an hour each. Layers of Fear 2 follows the Actor, whose story is a bit longer at roughly 5 hours to complete. The biggest change here is the addition of the Writer. You start the game as a woman living alone in a lighthouse, sent there by your agency to finish your next book. Much like the Painter and Actor, you are beset by dark forces luring you in various ways to help hone your craft. This is by far the biggest addition to the game outside of its shift to Unreal Engine 5, which we will touch on in the graphical section. The writer has her own issues with family and work, and her interludes added context to what previously felt like 2 barely connected games. I hadn't played the titles until now, and looking at how they originally went, I think Bloober Team's done a really good job of trying to tie their Layers verse together. You can choose to jump into any of the 5 characters' stories in the main menu. I chose to go in order of release with the first game and then the 2 DLCs, giving some additional context to that first game that helped flesh each of the characters out in it significantly. I don't really believe anything has changed in those games outside of the full graphical overhaul that each received. The original voice acting, music, and sound effects all seem to be reused, and those graphics running on Unreal Engine 5 though are a massive improvement. It's a complete overhaul of the graphics in each release, and there are 2 display modes on offer. First is a ray tracing enabled quality mode that is stuck at 30 FPS, and then a 60 FPS targeted performance mode. As this is not a Twitch shooter, I ended up sticking with the quality mode the entire time, as the texture and lighting quality were greatly improved over performance. I'm not really sure how much moving to Unreal Engine 5 helped, or which exact version of Unreal Engine 5 they're using, but graphically the game looks pretty good to occasionally great. The house and boat locations are in the upper AA tier, while particle effects and fire are convincing. Nothing here really looks next-gen as much as high PC settings for a recent game. God rays through windows do have an odd shimmering to them in quality that is greatly exacerbated in performance mode. If this was Bloober looking to update their tools and learn the new engine, it has been a success, as the game looks nice and it runs well in both modes. It is also a very dark game, and to combat that in the first one, you get a lantern that works on an overheat system. Using the left trigger, you will hold up your lantern, and pressing the right trigger will activate it to dispel certain things that you encounter. Clicking in the left stick toggles Run, which is also on the right bumper. In Layers of Fear 2, your character doesn't have a lantern, but he knows how to crouch by pressing Y. The games are mostly walking and opening things simulators. The main gameplay loops are walking around an area and trying to find the way to get to the next one. That can be finding a key, answering a phone, or looking at a piece of paper, etc. You will mostly be grabbing things with the right trigger and then using the right stick to manipulate them. The only combat is when you're using the lamp in the first game. The sequel does away with it and instead focuses on the story with moderate success. I did find myself more intrigued overall by the narrative in Layers of Fear 2 and greatly appreciated not having the forced pseudo-combat sections of the original. The music throughout is seldom used, but when it is, it's well done. The jump scare stings and You're in Danger music do get repetitive by the end of the first game, but it's less of an issue in the DLCs and sequel. The voice acting is mostly mediocre, and as far as I can tell, it's unchanged. The writer has been interspersed throughout the original games, and the actress does a really good job to convey the constantly changing emotional state of her character. The majority of bugs that I encountered in my pre-release build were audio related. A majority of them were sound effects during the writer's segments just failing to play. Her slamming down a phone or throwing a painting was completely silent, making me sometimes wonder if my headset had turned off. There were a few graphical bugs tied to the game's use of physics in some of its scary segments, which gave me a little bit of a headache. Massive screen shake would happen if I interacted with an object from sometimes too far away or too far to the side. Other than that, it was a rather smooth experience with no crashes or save issues. Wrapping things up, Layers of Fear 2023 is a solid compilation of 2 decent horror titles. It is a massive graphical upgrade that uses a new narrative to tie them together in a satisfying way. Releasing at only $30 MSRP, if you haven't played the games before and love to get creeped out, then this one's well worth checking out.